As I've done a few times throughout these programs, just so you know, we will be posting all these programs on Nikon Live, so if you missed any program, you can come back and watch it at any time on the Nikon USA website. So Joey Terrill is a USA Nikon ambassador whose photography career has spanned through many specialties: architecture, interior design, annual reports, editorial portraits, golf course landscapes, large and small products, and aerial photography. His magazine and advertising clients include Disney, Golf Digest, Major League Baseball, Red Bull, Sports Illustrated, and the list goes on and on and on. On his website, he does an amazing blog, Photography 101, where Joey freely shares his stories and videos about photography, how he uses light, and how to reach to the next level in your own photography. So without wasting any more time, talking to you about amazing close-up photography, his program, Intimate Details, Romantic, Sexy, and Simple. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Terrill.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Hi, everybody. You guys having a good time here? Everything's been good? I can't believe how busy this show is. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is the little things, things up close. I look at something like this, like a bride, and I say to myself, there is so much amazing detail in this dress. And it's true of every bride. They have so many things you can look at and photograph. What I want to talk about today is that combined with using light to direct your eye where you want the viewer to look. So those two things. So we're going to do a live shoot. But first, let me show you a little bit about what I like about really, really close-up stuff. So I look at a picture like this, and the first thing I look at is the dress and how amazing it is. And so like I was thinking when I was putting this talk together about those little intimate details, I wanted to show you some of the things that I normally do with macro photography. Macro, when you get in close to things, you see things that you can't see with the naked eye. So like this is just like a squeezer, like you would squeeze juice with, shot through the water droplets on some glass, and you end up seeing something that looks like eyeballs. This is just a tiny little feather, and you can see how small it is. The challenge in doing this kind of work is working with light in a very controlled way. Now, I know a lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, lighting is just not something I want to tackle. The idea today is I want to talk you through one specific type of light that you'll find very easy to do, and you only need 2 speed lights to do it. So like this is like one of those little rubber things you put in your drawer at home to keep the silverware from sliding around underneath the glass and water droplets. You can have a lot of fun with getting in close. This is the specific thing I want to talk about today. See how specific that light is? That's what I want to talk about, is getting in on things like the ring, the detail of the dress, stuff like that. Same kind of concept. You're lighting part of the frame with one light and another part of the frame with a different light. Same thing here. Same thing here. It's the same concept. So in this case, like you can see that the rest of the bill is there, but I made you look where I wanted you to look with the light, and that's what I want you guys to learn today. And you pull out the texture in whatever you're shooting. In a dress like this, obviously, there's tons and tons of texture to work with. So how's it done? Here's like a paper texture. It's a piece of paper this big. And it's lit in a way where you see the texture of the paper for sure, but the light's not that interesting. If you control the light a little bit, you make it a much more interesting looking piece of paper. But the thing is the human eye has the ability to see a lot of things. Like right now, I can see the bright highlights on that wall, and I can see the shadows of you folks sitting right here at the same time. Camera can't do that. So you kind of have to help it out with light. So if you add in a little, what I call a kiss of light. So the lower left-hand corner is the same picture as the one in the upper right-hand corner. I just put in a little bit of value to help your eye. Like, yeah, you don't even notice what's in the shadow. You're more interested in the highlight, but it doesn't look like it's been lost. So that's what we're going to do today. And you can have fun with it. It doesn't have to end there. You can go on. You can start adding colors. In this case, maybe you warm up the one light and you cool off the other light. So you have a little play of color in there. There's a lot of ways to do this. And on a big scale, you can do the same thing. This is just a bride with the same kind of light. It's a shaft of light, and you've put in a little bit of extra, say, behind her dress so that you can see back there. Otherwise, it's deep shadow. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get to it. So the first thing, to me, the easiest thing to work with is the bigger light first. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up, and I'm going to do a picture of her ring. She's going to have her hand up to her cheek. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to light her face so that we can see her face, but her face isn't going to be the subject. Her face is going to be there, but the subject is the ring. Does that make sense? Let me have you turn this way, just so that you can just swivel. Yeah, I know, it's hard. Because I want them to see you in profile. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to light up her face very close. The closer the light is, the softer it's going to be. And then the second light is going to light her ring. Go ahead and put your hand up. There we go. Like almost right. There you go. So the thing is when you're working this close, you have to be able to see the light. Obviously, we're on a very bright stage. But what I'm going to do is I'm using this modifier to just put a spotlight right on her ring. And what I do to aim it is I keep it kind of loose. And there's a button on the speed light that you can press so that you can see it. Very hard to see up here. It's so bright. I can kind of see. There we go. So the other great thing about this, I'm using the SP5000s in each of these lights. I'm using the radio transmitter, WR10. So I'm wireless. This is just a tether so we can see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do, I've set up a button so that immediately I can control both speed lights from the camera. So I can see I've got group A, which I know is this one, and I label them. Makes it easy for slower people like me. I can look at it and I can tell which one is which. So I have group A, which is this, at -2 stops. That's the ideal. What I want is I want it underexposed. So I'm going to expose for her face in a way that I just see it, but I'm not hitting the viewer over the head with it. You know she's there, but it's more about the ring. That make sense? The other part of it is going to be for her ring, and that's right now set at even. Now, I don't know how it's going to come out. I'm just guessing that that's going to work. But the beauty of it is if it doesn't, it's one button push and a couple of keystrokes, and I change it until it's how I want it to be. So let's make sure, hold your hand real still. There. So let's see what we got so far. So I'm okay with part of this, but her face to me is too bright. Now that may be because we have an awful lot of light, ambient light, if you will, from the stage. So I'm going to change that a little bit. And we'll go to -3. So now what it is, I'm at -3 on this light, and this one's even. So it looks like I'm missing a little bit. We're getting there. Stay real still. So that's closer to what I'm going for. We could mess with it for a long time and get it just right. But how long did that take? I mean, just a couple minutes. It's not hard is the point. You can get there really, really quickly if you want to. And you'd want to work with the light. You want to move it around. Ideally, in a situation like this, you wouldn't be under spotlight. So you'd be able to see the light and where it's aiming, and that's key. But essentially, look what we've done. We've told the viewer, look right here. And so like I say, we could refine it, make it perfect, but you get the idea where we're going. What do you say we do a different kind of picture? Let's do it with the veil. So just rotate that way. So for this one, I'm going to use a different lens. Instead of using 105 macro, I'm going to use a 45 perspective control lens. The reason I'm using that, it's a macro lens as well, but one of the things it can do is you can change the focus. Now normally you would do this if you were, say, shooting product. By being able to tilt the lens, you can hold focus over a greater distance, but you can do the opposite too. You can tilt it up, like so, and you can limit the focus. So you can narrow the range of focus that you want to show. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show that veil, and I'm intentionally going to try and throw her out of focus. Now the other thing is this lens rotates, so I can determine where I want the focus to be. In other words, do I want it to be, if I do it this way, I'll hold more in focus. If I do it this way, only the veil will be in focus and her face will go very soft. It's a way to add a kind of a creamy quality to the picture. So let's try that. So we'll start off with this light, kind of similar to what we did before. And this time I'm really going to try and bring out the texture of the veil. Right near her face, but I don't want to light her face. Real still. So let's see how this looks. Head up, look right into this. There we go. Try it again. Looks like we may have lost our tether. What? Don't. I didn't. But it won't, it's not. Okay. So essentially what we're trying to do here, same thing as before. This light is just creating enough of enough light just so that you can see her face, and then this is the light that's actually going to pull out the texture in the veil. So in every case, when I do this, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, listen, you as the viewer, you know, whether it's whatever it is, look here for me. This is what I want you to look at. I thought that this veil was so gorgeous, I want you to see it. The thing is most times, like, we look at the bride, and the bride is, you know, head to toe. But you as photographers, oftentimes you get out, you know, you get to a wedding, and you look at you get to see the bride this close, and you get to see how amazing the details are. To me, these kinds of pictures are good for that. They're helping the people that couldn't get that close to the bride to see how beautiful that dress was, or how beautiful that ring was, or how sexy that garter was. So let's see if we got the tether back.
Joey, we are restarting the computer right now, so keep it going, brother.
All right. So just watching my time. I want you guys to get the most out of this. People often ask me, like, how do you like to mount your speed lights, for example? I'll show you a little. I don't know about you guys, but I don't. If I already own something, I try to make it work. So I use rubber bands. So to me, this is perfect. Perfect way to mount a speed light. If this falls over, the speed light won't break. I already own this part of it. It doesn't put all the stress on the hot shoe. A lot of people, you know, you can mount your speed light into something, and then the thing is you're when you mount something on the end of the speed light, you're counting on this little foot to support all the weight. To me, that's scary. You know, it's a $600 speed light. So to me, I already own these, and nothing's going to happen to your speed light. And you can pick this stuff up at a hardware store. You know, just works. So while we're see if we can make it work this way. All right. Now the camera won't fire. Mark. Camera won't fire now. Okay. So it looks like we've lost the computer part of it. Let's talk through what the third shot is. So let me spin you around. Yeah. So to me, the garter, let's be honest, it can be a dicey kind of a shot. So you have to be very careful about how you do it. So we talked about this in advance about how we would do a shot like this. Obviously, this is not the angle, right? You want it to be sexy, but you don't want it to be not so good. So to me, the better angle is to come at it this way, But what we talked about is propping her foot up. So this way, I can approach it this way. And it's still sexy. You still see that she's got a very, very nice, sexy dress without it being, let's just use the word rude. So the idea here is what I would want to do is the same kind of thing. I'd want to come in with this light. And the idea is here, I want to light up her knee, her leg, her hands, all of that. But again, what I want to do is come in with a very specific light. And in this case, I'd probably come in from behind. That way I would really pull out the texture. So you just put the light out of frame. And sometimes you need to get it down low. So you could even have it say here. And you might notice I'm using these ball heads. I really prefer that you can move the light in any direction. Like sometimes you'll see the controls that will only go one way. To me, you have to be able to specifically put the light exactly where you want it to be. So in this case, if I want the light right there, all I have to do is put it there, hold it, and tighten, and it stays. Does that make sense? So I can rotate this in any direction I want it to be. So to me, this would be about right, something like that. So you can see this light is going to light this whole area, but I'm going to underexpose that part, and then this is the light that's going to pull out the texture in the garter. See if we're working. No, we're not. So I can't really show you exactly what the picture would look like, but you get the idea. The beauty of this is that you're working with a radio, so you can put the lights anywhere, and you don't have to worry about tripping over things or whatever, and you can control it from the camera, like I said. To me, that's the biggest advantage that's happened in the last few years is the ability to be able to do that, because it simply means that if you want to change the exposure, you don't have to go back to the light, change it there, and then go back to the camera, then go back to the light, then go back to the camera. Literally, you can set up a button on the front of the camera so that when you press it, up comes that menu system. You change the exposure, go right back to working. So you spend a lot less time fiddling and a lot more time actually shooting. I'm going to try this, see if it works. Oh, we're in this. See if we can get this working.
Joey, you are back up and running.
Nice. All right, let's see. So I don't know.
It'll take a few extra minutes too.
I don't know where we are, time or exposure-wise, but we'll do a little experiment here and we'll see. So let's do it with just one hand. Yeah. Let's see the other hand. Yeah, hand flat. And get your hand right under there. There you go. Again, we'll see where we are. I don't know where the exposure is, but we'll see. Oh, that's why. Sorry. Under. I'm on a different camera, sorry. So I like the... So here's what I'm doing. I'm switching that light to -1, and I'm switching this light to +1. Can you guys see it? I'm going to play a little bit with the aiming. So the idea is, see the value in her hand, in her left hand? You see her hand, but it's not hitting you over the head. Does that make sense? In other words, if you don't use this light, you lose her hand. That's the key thing to take away from this. You have to have the other light so that there's enough value that you see it, and then the main light, which is this one, let's try it a little higher, see what happens. Because what I really want is I want the texture out front. I want to see the texture here. More like it. Closer. I think the point is that, again, you can work this until it's just how you want it to be. The idea, the point that I want to get across is with 2 lights, a radio, a couple of modifiers, you can get a lot done in a very short period of time. That make sense? That's really it. Questions from anybody? Happy? All good? I've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Should I make the use of it? I'll do something else. Let's try that other shot that we were going to do of your face in the veil. Sorry. So again, what we were going to do here is just rake this light across the veil. We're going to see her face, right? But we really want to see the detail in the veil. So turn this way just a little for me. I'm going to try and pull this out right here. This is going to light the back side of her face. So now, when I look at this, the first thing I think of is I'm kind of liking what's going on with the veil, but her face is too bright for me. I don't want to see her face that much. So again, 1 button push. I know this is group A. And I'm going to drop that down a little bit. And I'm actually going to reduce the other one as well. Try it again. And I think I'll come at her not quite as low. That's more what I'm looking for, that kind of thing. And again, you can play with this infinitely. I can bring her face up a little more. I can bring the veil down a little bit. I can adjust the light, like I think in a perfect world. We'd probably come at it this way. And all I'm trying to do here is kind of rake the light along this texture. Or like that. So with that, thank you for spending time with me. I really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nikon Ambassador, Mr. Joey Terrill. Stick around. We have the amazing Tamara Lackey coming up next right here at the Nikon Theater at 12:30. How to photograph and sell the work you love. Tamara Lackey, Nikon Ambassador, right here at the Nikon Theater at 12. Yes.